I am very proactive about making daily emotional deposits.
The way I switched it was with fun and play.
As soon as kids have relevance and they feel like that makes sense, they're willing to do things.
The whole focus is who do I want them to be in 10 years from now?
I've never wanted obedient children. I've always wanted thinking children.
Hey there, this is Greg Denning. We want to reach as many people as possible and help as many families as possible with these conversations. And we want to keep this podcast ad-free forever. You can help us do that by subscribing on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen, your favorite platform, and on YouTube. And leave a quick review and share your favorite episodes with friends and family. It makes a big difference. Thank you for being a part of this very important movement. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Extraordinary Family Life podcast. We're your hosts, Greg and Rachel Denning. And today we have an awesome treat. We have guests in our studio. Our good friends are over here staying at the World School Family Resort with us, Brian and Sam, and they are here to have the conversation. So we're super excited to have you guys here with us and have a fun conversation.
We are really excited to be here as well. So we've been looking forward to coming out for a long time. We've known you guys for many years now, and so it's awesome to see the Dennings live and in action, and to experience the life that we've been learning about so much for a long time. Your guys' family is in a different stage than ours is as well, because we still have pretty young kids, 10 and under, and so a lot of the things that we're trying to implement or the foundation that we're trying to build, you guys have already been there, done that, and you have kids that are kind of at the next phase of life that have been able to benefit from that. And so being able to hopefully glimpse into the future of what our family can look like and how the things that we want to instill for our culture, and see the tools and the strategies and the skills that you've used to help build that in them. That's one thing that is really a fun thing to see.
What a fun thing for all of us to do is just pick this vision just ahead. What do I want it to be like when I get to that spot? And then try to set up the steps to get there. So it's this cool idea of picking a spot. What do you want the outcome to be like when you get there? And then what do we need to do to create the outcome?
Having that vision makes a difference in the way you interact with your children on a daily basis. For us, the focus has always been on what do I want 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road with my children? And what do I need to do today to get that relationship? Essentially, to me, I view it as having this close relationship and not doing things that create a wedge in that.
I feel like I'm always with my kids in those moments because I want that immediate, like, I want you to obey me. I want you to do the thing that I'm asking you to do right now. And I think Sam is a lot better to look at like the bigger picture and the interactions that she has and stuff.
Of course, we all want to have immediate results. That is part of parenting. We want to not have children that are annoying and frustrating and irritating all the time. We want strategies that are effective and produce the results that we want, but don't compromise the long-term relationship that can achieve both things. That's always been our approach because we've definitely been there.
So if I could kind of extra emphasize this, it's easy if we're pursuing a result in the moment to use force. I guess I'll just kind of break them up into like force or manipulation, right? We can all become forceful. And I would say probably that's dad and mom, right? Dad's going to be like, "Roar, and let's do this." And you get the immediate result, but then afterwards, I always felt so bad for getting after, and it was with the toddlers especially. I was like they were just being kids, or manipulation. And that sounds harsh, but it's quite easy to become manipulative.
When you're forcing your child to do something because that's what you want them to do, ultimately that comes down to a form of manipulation, really. So our approach has always been, how can I convince my child to want to do this thing so that they choose to do it? It might take longer than you want. You might not have the immediate result that time, but if you get creative about it and you think through it, you can find that there is a way to convince your child to want to do that thing so then it happens most of the time?
So here's a question that I've had. Our kid woke up. He's two and a half, and woke up much earlier than we wanted to. The other people are sleeping. He started screaming. The tools that I normally will go to is force, but in this case, you can't. So I can bribe him with usually he likes a bottle of milk. That's one thing that he's usually pretty happy to accept. I can bribe him with a screen, which is one of my least favorite ways to do it, but it works very, very well.
The influence you have with your child in the moment is, of course, determined by all the other
Based on the other
you've
stuff,
had
yeah.
before. So you can think about, okay, what are the long-term changes I need to make to have this be the way I want it, where I have the influence to be able to calm him or, whatever I need right now. In this moment, yeah, maybe I give him the bottle.
Yeah.
I would definitely say no with the
Screen,
device.
yeah.
The real solution though long term is how do I build the relationship with my child that I can influence and calm him in the moment without having to at least 80% of the time resort to other
Yeah.
bribes or whatever not.
So you're saying that you have to think ahead and be strategic in the way that so you can't just react to everything. I hear what you're saying. Okay. Very good.
It's so true. But if we don't give it thought ahead of time, then it's all reactive.
Oh, because we foresee that things are going to go wrong, our kids are going to misbehave or have a meltdown or potentially have a meltdown or whatever.
They're gonna act their age.
They're going to act their age. Because of that, I am very, very proactive about making daily emotional deposits so that I have the emotional capital to influence them when they do have those meltdowns.
What I understand this to be is like anytime you even ask somebody for something, you're withdrawing from that
Yeah.
emotional bank account. So if you're at a 1-to-1 ratio, that's like a very poor relationship that you have
Mhm.
with another person. When I was in college, I played football and we had a sports psychologist that worked with us named Craig Manning. And he talked a lot about this as well. And what he said is that for good relationships to function, you have to have a 5-to-1 positive to negative
Mhm.
withdrawal.
Yeah.
You always have to be giving more than you take.
Mhm.
During travel, we've had a lot of withdrawals from this process, but finding moments on every interaction you have to create those positive deposits.
There are inevitably a lot of withdrawals that occur during travel, but even often during daily life, we're constantly telling them, "Oh, don't do that," or "Pick this up," or "Do this," or "Don't hit your sister." And it's often hard for us to remember as parents because we're like, well, this is my job. I'm supposed to be teaching you and telling you what to do, right? So you can be a good person. We forget that that's actually a withdrawal on their emotional bank account. And so we do have to be very intentional about telling them, oh, good job. You did that. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for carrying your bag. Thank you for,
Yeah.
you know,
When you see
thank you
spot
for
when you
sitting
spot
so
the good things,
quietly.
really
Yeah.
reinforce
You
them.
just really have to pay attention and then actually say something about it because then that's how you just put back a little bit of deposits every moment. We have to be more intentional about paying attention for the good and positive things and then pointing them out.
We praise those behaviors. I notice in myself, I would quietly notice the good things and be like, yeah, but not say anything. And then they do something wrong. I'm like, hey, stop that. And so vocally, I was correcting all the time. Silently, I was praising all the time.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't make any deposits if I'm thinking, hey, good job, and I don't say it. So lots of emotion and excitement into the positive makes these huge deposits.
Yeah.
And it drives our kids in the direction we want them to go. I think we just
Yeah.
have to proactively be making deposits and connections, like constantly building the relationship no matter what. Because if we stay in neutral, it can't stay in neutral, I guess, so
Yeah.
to speak. I love that
Like
concept.
you were talking about the 1-to-1 ratio, it's not sustainable.
Right.
And when you come across a time when you need it,
Yeah.
when you need that capital, if you've only been doing 1-to-1, you don't have it.
Yeah.
Because now you've come across something that's big. It's a big ask, like, be quiet, everyone's sleeping. And there's not enough capital there to fulfill that request, that demand, right?
Can I wanna add one other element as we're thinking through this, 'cause it's not always just deposit withdrawal. We're trying to keep the account there. eventually, I think once the account is built up, like we're just making deposits all the time, we have so much relationship capital, it becomes exponential, but then the kids start to do things on their own. We don't have to ask.
One of the things that I see as she homeschools is that she's constantly doing things for them all day, every day, constantly giving, 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 giving. And they don't recognize the work that you're putting into it as far as like all the deposits you're making. It's like, I'm doing all this for you guys. Like, how does that feel to you? And how does that, how are you able to incorporate those deposits as you're already giving your entire day and focus and energy to them?
Well, going back to what you were saying about seeing you guys in action is really cool. Somebody had mentioned that you guys are simultaneously very intense and also very laid back. And so it's cool because I think in some ways I've been intense about everything or intense about things that really don't matter. And that is depleting. But those times when I know that I'm filling a bank account, I don't feel depleted. It's
Yeah.
more of the withdrawal times that are depleting. But seeing you guys, how you are more relaxed around like a lot of the day-to-day stuff. You have really high standards, but I don't know, it's given me a different vision to take home. Like, oh, I don't have to be so intense about every little detail.
The irony is not everything we do for our children is a deposit. So
Yeah.
we can do things for them, and sometimes it's actually a withdrawal. Sometimes us doing something for them becomes a withdrawal, or it's not a deposit simply because it doesn't count for them. And
Yeah,
or
yeah.
they don't notice.
Well, and it's kind of like what I hear Sam saying too is it's like in the way she approaches
Yeah.
those interactions, it can either be done as a withdrawal or it can be done as a
Exactly.
deposit.
Yeah.
And
That
that's
has a different energy. If it's no, I love you. I'm trying to build you into the type of person that ultimately is going to be successful and happy and balanced and well. Like that's a whole different approach.
the way you approach it makes all the difference. So if I feel resentment or anger or irritation or frustration and I come at it from that place, it's not a deposit. Whereas if I feel love and appreciation or gratitude and I come from that place, then it becomes a deposit. If I feel that I don't have enough capital or I don't have the right attitude, I literally will not ask my kids to do something. But when I get in the right place, then it's easy for me to ask and they willingly do it because I come from the right place.
That was really insightful for me, that it feels like a withdrawal in your accounts
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So it's not like a withdrawal, just a withdrawal in the kids' account. It's a withdrawal in the personal account. It's like, this is draining to me to get intense about it. I know when I had to switch that, and the way I switched it was with fun and play. And so I used to be like, I'm going to yell, give the dad lecture, and maybe spank. Now my go-to almost indefinitely is tickles. I'm like, "No, hey, I'm dead serious. Like, your room's a disaster. It needs to be cleaned, and I'm legit. I'm gonna tickle you and then put you in an arm bar, and we're gonna be laughing. I'm gonna be squeezing you until you're begging me to let you up so you can clean your room." Right? For me personally as dad, that's my secret sauce. Like, I'm, in a way, making a deposit simultaneously while making a request. Okay, one more thought, though, that I have to share is the work that moms especially put in, for little kids is so thankless. You keep making the deposits, and you might hope that your 2-year-old or your 4-year-old, you're like, "If I love on them today, they're going to listen later." The payoff is in 5 or 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Right? When your 3-year-old is 13 and you have a phenomenal world-class relationship with a 13-year-old that does whatever you ask, that is priceless. It is worth anything. Before we had kids, I heard parents complain about the teen years. They're so terrible, so hard. Teenagers just rebellious, they're hormonal. Rachel and I committed when the kids were little, like, we're not having teens like that. And people were like, "You're delusional. Just wait." That's what we thought too. I'm like, "No, we're not playing that game." So we're on our 5th teen. The teen years have been phenomenal because these practices when they're young work.
Okay, so this leads into the question which all came to mind because we are here and we have witnessed, like the first night we got here, your teenagers came out with some bowls of delicious food and you guys were like, "Oh, here, let us have some." So they end up giving their food to us. And not only did they give their food to us, when we were done, they cleaned up after us. Like nobody asked them to do that. And then the next day, after we were done eating, I'd go to take our dishes in, and your 14-year-old is like, "Oh, here, give them to me. I'm gonna do all the dishes." And I said, "Oh, is that your job today? Like, do you rotate dishes? Like, how does this work?" He's like, "Oh no, I'm just gonna do them." So my mind was blown. So that's what started this whole question of how do you get teenagers like that? Which I think you're answering now. Like you have this relationship that you've been working on for 14 years, basically.
Yeah, that is the underlying foundation right there.
So hypothetically, let's say that somebody was a parent and had been raising their kids in a very transactional way. We won't name any names here, guilty parties, but what if that was kind of the standard operation that you were implementing? How do you get back from that? Or how do you rescue yourself or the hypothetical self from that type of a foundation that you may have already built, or the patterns and habits and interactions that you've already kind of developed with those hypothetical kids?
We talk about fixing what's gone wrong versus helping things go right. When you're trying to deal with that, whatever's gone wrong, it's the tantrum, it's the meltdown, it's whatever. That is going to be determined by everything else that's gone before, kind of like we mentioned before. So if I'm having this meltdown, if I'm trying to change it, like you're asking, you now have to use those as moments of reflection. You might have a situation where you need to have a quick short-term thing, whatever, that's fine. But for the bigger picture, you have to use that now as a moment of reflection. What do I need to do differently in order to achieve or have the influence necessary to get the result I want now? And it all like always comes back to what deposits have I not been making? So for me, and even at this point now, like if there is some sort of behavioral issue, my go-to solution is fixing the problem, fixing the underlying issue, which is they're hungry, they're tired, or they feel disconnected. Usually it's one of those three. Hungry, tired, disconnected. If I simply fix those things, I fix the problem. So if I say, wow, you're
Immediately,
acting
people are
out.
like, they're misbehaving. Why would I give them a snack and hug them?
Right.
But that's exactly what we should do.
Yeah.
Like, instead of jumping in and disciplining, we're like, hey, come here. Come sit on my lap. The little ones, come sit on lap and let's have a snack together. Like, wow, you're really heavy now. But you connect with them and you have a snack together. And I know this because people will tell us like, but I'm rewarding bad behavior. No, you're not. You're getting to the root of the issue. And that gentle, beautiful conversation was the most effective, quote, disciplining that I could have ever done.
I guess the point that you've already made is that always err on the side of more deposits. Like
Yeah.
just always be that default mode of
Mhm.
that is what I always want to be praising. I always want to be, again, like helping to assist in what's going
Yeah.
well and not just like constantly nailing down on what they're doing
Mhm.
incorrectly.
We've come up with strategies. I guess that's one of the things I want to share for everybody listening is like get way more strategic. And it might be tough at first because, again, as a young dad, I thought, man, I've got yelling and spanking and grounding. Timeout. Those are my tools. Except immediately I was like, I'm never going to give timeout. That's so stupid. I'm not going to ground because I hated being grounded. Rachel got grounded for months at a time. So she was on board. She's like, never. So we just decided young, we're like, we're not going to do timeout. We're not going to ground. Like, there's got to be better ways. And so when I took away the tools that I knew didn't work, like the dad lecture, the yelling, I'm like, that doesn't work. And so I literally had to sit there. I'm like, well, what can I do instead? And at first I was like, there's nothing. There's nothing I can do. I've got nothing. But you get more strategic. I think that most of us struggle because we're just not strategic enough. So more strategies, more tools.
So thinking like it's probably going to be different for every kid too. That's the thing.
Absolutely.
Is it always it changes because they all want different things, are all in different
Yeah.
places.
So you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And people hearing that are like, man, more work. I have to pay attention to each kid. I have to come up with different strategies for each kid. And the answer is yes. So we do the work up front and we come up with strategies for each kid. And guess what? Parenting gets easier and easier and better. Like, hey guys, would you help? Oh, they're on it.
Yeah.
Because we did the work up front of finding the ways that work for each kid. I just wanted to add, I started reading to our kids when they're little, and they would all pile on top of me when little. And I mean, we have pictures when it was 4 or 5 of them sitting in my lap while I was reading stories. Those are some of my all-time favorite memories.
Yeah.
And it was for them too. And so we had tons of physical touch, cuddle, reading books, telling stories, laughing, crying, just creating all these memories. And so it was the perfect teaching lessons, and it was a way to close the day every day with touch and story, and it was transformational for them and for me. It was priceless. So it was worth any effort. And I would fall asleep while I was reading. I mid-sentence, I'd be like, because I'd be exhausted, and they would like
Yes.
elbow me in the ribs, like, "Dad!" Like, "Okay, I'm back." And so it was hard, but worth every bit of effort.
Yeah.
Okay. So your question was, what do I do now? How do I change this? And part of that is using the moments that are frustrating and irritating and the behavior that you want change as kind of now. And I get when I'm saying this, it's difficult to do because you're like, they're just misbehaving and I want it to stop right now. But I started using it as a time of reflection. Even if they were screaming or crying, I would literally kind of go in my head and be like, why are they doing this?
Mhm.
But with not like, why are you doing this to me? Anger, but like curiosity. Why are they doing this? And then I would go through a list. I'd be like, are they hungry? Are they tired? Have they not cuddled enough? And then as you get to know each child, you can know like, oh, there's even different specific things. Like they didn't get that thing they need. Because the other piece of this, I'm mentioning them together, is that we're so drawn or driven to just solving the problem right then.
Yeah.
And I have learned to postpone solving the problem so that I can have a long-term solution that works in the moment, not in that moment because I don't have the tools. So I know it'll work in the moment next time
Right.
or in the future, but also maintains the long-term relationship that I want. So if I don't know the answer, if I don't know what to do in that moment, if I can, I'm going to postpone doing something and I'm going to let them misbehave so that I can find a real solution that will work then and in the future. Maintaining the long-term relationship so that I can get what I really want, because what I really want is the long-term results. Part of and I have to add this because part of that comes, I think, is where that real laid back part of it comes in that we've been talking about. We're laid back about a lot more things because I'm not worried about all the things getting done. I'm less worried about my objectives than I am about the relationship. So I don't, despite the fact that we have very high standards and high expectations, I rarely have them at the expense of the relationships. So I would love to be on time to church every time. But if I can't be on time to church and maintain the relationship, then we're late because the relationships are more important. I'm trying to get them to do their studies or their schoolwork. That's the objective. But if I can't do it and maintain the relationship, then I let the homeschooling go. I let the studies go. Does that make sense?
That's a good example, but it wouldn't be like, 2 years later, I still haven't found out a solution. So the kids, they're not doing their studies because I'm working on a solution. We don't play that game.
Yeah.
But Rachel would be like, look, they don't want to do their studies and I don't have the right tool. I'm going to take today and tomorrow, maybe the rest of the week.
Yeah.
And I'm going to figure out something that's going to work long-term and create a real solution instead of like superficial symptom management.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so they miss a few days, they miss a week. So what? We're going to come back with a real solution that actually gets the results we want.
Yeah. So
Can you
they
give-
do the studies, but then it doesn't damage the relationship either, right? Because that's ultimately what matters the most. And that's the thing that builds the foundation so that you have the capital, so that you can have the teenage and adult relationships with your children that you want most, in that long-term 20-year vision. Yeah.
I think relevance is the most important thing in education. And it might be obviously relevant to us, but it's not always relevant to the kid.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I can't connect relevance in their brain at 7 or 11, then it'll always be a battle. So
Yeah.
I'm like, how can I make this relevant to them? And I have found across the board, and I've worked with thousands of youth, when they finally get it, when it's relevant to them, they're on fire. It's unstoppable. Being a parent it's super hard. It's a heavy load. And some of you listening might be like, "Oh, one more thing I have to do." Like, yes, but once you figure it out, it makes parenting amazing and so enjoyable. So the key ultimately, at least this is how I thought about it for myself, was how can I become more influential and more persuasive? Like, I have to be an absolute master of persuasion. And you're like, what if I stop, like, being so intense about this, and I step over to the other side and we just talk about it differently, and then they're like, "Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'll absolutely do that." What the change was me. And in often cases, it was easier. It's easier to be persuasive than it is to try to be forceful, but we have to think differently. And I had to totally force myself to think differently. Like, wait a minute, how can I have more influence? How can I get my kids to do something so I don't have to yell? I don't have to threaten. And I started trying things. I'm like, man, this works like magic. Not to be manipulative, not to use it too much or in weird ways to get them to do things that are dumb or that don't matter to them. But if you use persuasion well, you win.
In the long run, it actually makes it easier, and that is simply explaining things to them at their level. And I think people sometimes feel that that allows them to talk back or to be disobedient. But for me, I've never wanted obedient children. I've always wanted thinking children. I've always wanted children that could think, that could reason, that could
They were self-directed.
that were self-directed, right? And that requires them to actually talk back. Like they have to ask you questions. They have to question why. They have to say, like, why do I have to do this? And
Or
that
the space to say, I don't want to do that.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly right. They having that permission and that space to be able to say something like, I don't want to do this is a beautiful place because that gives you both an opportunity to talk through it, which is the basis of learning how to think. Like that's how you learn how to think is by walking through or talking through a scenario of like, well, why don't you want to do it? And why is it maybe important? And how could you learn how to want to do it or whatever? Having those conversations is what gives them that self-directed cognitive ability so that then they are the ones who are doing the thing because they want to do it and because they understand why it matters, not because I'm telling them to do it because I'm the parent and that's what you're supposed to do. As soon as kids have relevance and they feel like that makes sense, they're willing to do things. They're really actually pretty sensible. They want to do things that make sense.
Again, the whole focus is, who do I want them to be in 10 years from now, 20 years from now?
Who do they
Who do
want
they
to
wanna
be?
It's worth every effort to set aside time for thinking, reflecting, writing, strategizing, right? I just again, I wanna reiterate this. I just don't think most of us are strategic enough. So anywhere we're struggling, anywhere we're not having the results we want, time and reflection and writing help that to get more strategic and like, well, and again, and I said this, most people said they're like, "I've tried everything." Like, no, you've tried like 7 things. I know it feels like everything, but keep trying more. If you had tried everything, you'd have the results you want and you'd figure out a way, right? So I just want to reiterate, like, all these things we've been talking through and discussing, like, keep finding solutions, especially if you have a particularly difficult child. If you have a kid that is just so determined or so persistent, probably every family has one or two of them. You're like, yeah, that kid. And like, you don't want to kill that. The last thing in the world you want to do is kill the drive in a child. So I know those of you listening, you're like, oh, but you don't understand, Dennings. I have this one kid. I'm like, yeah, I hear that from every family. Every family has the one kid. Work with that kid the most. Like, make sure the relationship's there, the deposits are there. Guide that force so that they become a bullet train going in the right direction, and they'll carry the family.
Yeah.
Like, and especially if you can get this done really well with the older kids, the younger kids just follow suit. Like,
That's what I was
oh,
going to say. Because, yeah, once you get this instilled in the older kids, I mean, all of our older kids are basically reinforcing the same ideas. And so then it becomes this positive feedback loop where they're contributing and not just contributing, but modeling for their siblings. So their siblings just think, yeah, this is just how we do it. And, I know we've talked about it, but I also want to be clear. You asked the questions about our teens, but even I would say 6 months to a year ago, Atlas was in the difficult stage. Like he was in the stage of resistance and like, I don't want to do anything and I don't want to help out in any way.
Well, it's like you
They
said,
go through
levels of
that.
development, right?
Exactly, right. They all go through that. They all have especially I would say 11 to 14 for boys, but girls go through it too. They go through those phases, but the key is to not, during that phase, we never were just like, oh, well, okay, this is just this kid, I guess. We're like, no, here's the expectations, right? And we kept
So-
reinforcing what was expected.
and we didn't destroy the relationship.
And we kept maintaining the relationship, making the deposits. We continued the strategies. Also, that includes, restricting certain privileges or whatnot as necessary so that we had the expectations there, including the working out. Like he was not working out a year ago. And now that kid's in the gym every day, even on his own.
Dang, yeah.
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 Well,
But
and
that
so-
all came about because that's what he wanted. He chose it.
Yeah.
He opted in.
but he wouldn't come, and so I kept inviting. I never stopped inviting. So for 3 years, the last 3 years, I invited him to work out, and he would work out maybe once a week. But I didn't ridicule him. I didn't get after him. Nothing. He ate like a teenage boy and didn't work out, and so he got a little pudgy, whatever. I didn't say anything. No mockery, no nothing. Kept inviting, inviting. He was watching me and his older siblings just grind, and he'd come in and be like, ugh. That looks like a lot of effort and pain. He just has that look of a 12-year-old 13-year-old like, ooh, why would anyone do that? And we just kept inviting, kept inviting. We kept making it look like fun. Now, and again, didn't say anything, just invited, no criticizing, no condemning, no mockery, nothing. And then we just kept inviting, and now he's like, just like 3 days ago, he's like, I am gonna get shredded abs. And he's fasting on his own. You have a 14-year-old boy on his own fasting and grinding in the gym.
Fast 16 hours a day.
Yeah, so now he's doing intermittent fasting, 16-hour fasts on his own. I haven't said anything. He just watched, and we kept the relationship up. So when he was ready, he's going. And he's probably gonna be the biggest kid in our family. He's
Yeah,
gonna be a
he's
beast.
tall.
Yeah. He's just gonna fill out and just be jacked. But this is what it's all about. And it's worth all the effort and the work, and it's amazing. Family life is amazing. And it's such a reward. So you guys, thank you for being
That's been
here.
great. We appreciate you guys having us. This has been really fun.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You guys, thanks for listening. Love you. Reach upward.